There's a rumor that this movie is supposed to be a twisted recreation of The Wizard of Oz. I mean, Pearl, our main character, does get freaky with a scarecrow. Welcome to day 5 of 31 Days of Halloween. The writers of this movie include Mia Goth, who is actually also the main character, and Ty West. The director of this movie is Mr. West, who co-wrote this movie with Mia Goth, who is the main actress. What a power team. This movie is set in 1918 and follows a lonely farm girl who wants to be a star. She also has a tendency to kill people. Alright, let's go. Just listen to this. It's beautiful. This movie has a very beautiful soundtrack. The start is set on this really beautiful farm. The coloring in this movie is also impeccable. This is Pearl, and what you need to know right now is that she loves to dance. People always say that your room is a reflection of your mind. In Pearl's room, she has a lot of pictures with her and her parents. She has a picture of her dancing. She has dolls in her room, and she also has crosses on the walls, indicating she comes from a religious household. As she is looking at herself in the mirror and fixing up her hair, the entire room goes black. She is beginning to dance this very beautiful, very slow dance routine, when all of a sudden the music stops, all the light turns on, and her bedroom door flies open. It's her mum. So her mum comes in speaking German and gets mad at Pearl because she is wearing her mother's old things without any prior permission. Her mum demands her to take the clothes off and go into the stable to feed the animals. But you see, Pearl just wants to dance. Pearl doesn't want to feed the animals. Pearl throws Charlie the cow some straw to eat and tells Charlie the cow that one day they'll never ever see her ever again. Pearl starts feeding the rest of the animals. She has straw, she feeds them all. She's dancing around, she grabs a pitchfork, she stabs it in the ground and starts dancing with the pitchfork. A recurring part of Pearl's personality is that she calls herself a star. She says she's gonna be a star and that she's special and that one day her mom is going to feel really stupid, forever doubting her abilities. Then Mr. Goose arrives. She ruthlessly stabs him with a pitchfork. So sadly, Mr. Goose has passed away. Then she walks down to this lake pond thing, still holding the pitchfork with Mr. Goose's dead body attached to it. Then feeds Mr. Goose to Theta, the crocodile. As I said before, it is set in 1918. In 1918, the Spanish flu epidemic killed a lot of people. The First World War ended. Then it is nighttime and Pearl is helping her mother with dinner. Her mom tells her that it is selfish for her to be dancing around because she had to let go of all the farm hands and is now running the farm alone. Then her mom tells her to go and fetch her father. I'm sorry, whenever anyone uses that expression, fetch that person, I just keep thinking about dogs and playing fetch with them. Pearl gets a little distracted by a newspaper and the post, to which she asks her mom if there were any posts for her. So it can be assumed that she is waiting for a letter from someone. This is the mention of the Spanish flu and also the war. It's really sad when you think about how World War I was initially called the Great War because they didn't think there was going to be a World War II. Right now, the war has not ended yet. The end is in sight, but it's not over just yet. Pearl's dad is very sick and he's also paralyzed. There is also a bird in a cage, which 1000% is a metaphor for Pearl's life. Pearl feels like she is a bird trapped in a cage while she's trapped on the farm. They say grace, they do the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit thing, again indicating that they are a religious household. At dinner, Pearl is instructed to help feed her father. Then we see a letter from someone. Basically, Pearl has a husband, his name is Howard, and he is serving in the war. That is who she is waiting for letters from. She reads this letter in the bathroom. Right before then, she helps bathe her father. She's a really good daughter because there is no way in hell I would be able to do that. As she is feeding her father medicine, she tells him that she is gonna go into town tomorrow to pick up more, which means that she gets to stop by the pictures, which is essentially just the movies. I love going to the movies so much. It's a different vibe when everyone is around you and watching the same thing as you. The other night I went to see Saw X, and during that movie so many people got up and left. Like, not leave to go to the bathroom or anything, like they fully left and didn't come back. It was right after the leg scene, if you know what I'm talking about. And I was sitting next to this random lady and the entire movie she had her hands up here and she kept closing her eyes or covering them. Anyway, that is a complete side rant, but I just love going to the movies. I love seeing movies. I love movies, obviously, which is why I'm doing this thing where I'm talking about movies. Now, here it is that we learn that Pearl has to sneak to go to the pictures because her mom doesn't want her going. But Pearl loves it because she loves seeing the dances. And if you remember, Pearl loves dancing. You know the dancers that stand in a line and do that flamingo kick thing? Well, it is Pearl's dream to be in that line. As Pearl gets in the bath herself, and her mother comes in to take her father away, Pearl is instructed to remember to wear her mask in town tomorrow and to also not talk to anyone. Pearl rides her bike into town, and can we just please appreciate the coloring in this movie? It is so beautiful. She gets her medicine. It is liquid morphine sulfate. Then she stares longingly at this picture right outside the movie theaters. She goes inside and there's this ad about the war. Someone coughs in the audience, so she picks up the medicine and just drinks it. Then it is the movie that Pearl has been waiting for. The ones who dance like this. See, like the little flamingo kicks. It's here we meet this guy, and him and Pearl smoke together, completely ignoring her mother's rules. He's like, do you want to watch the second show? I have free admission for you. Pearl is like, no, I really should get going. He's like, stay there. Also, keep in mind, this guy knows that she has a husband. See those things that he's holding in his hands? Well, he cuts one of them off for her and gives it to her. Those little strip things are what is projected onto the movie screen. He then tells her to come back anytime she likes and to just knock on the door. As she is driving home, her square of film flies out of her pocket and goes through the air. She's incredibly sad as she looks for it in the cornfields. This is where she eyes the scarecrow. She climbs up the scarecrow pole to face him. She's like, may I have this dance? Then tosses the scarecrow body on the ground like a sack of potatoes, puts on his hat. She waltzes with Mr. Scarecrow. Very nice, very sweet. No suspicious activity going on here. After the dance, she makes out with the scarecrow. That's a little suspicious. Remember the guy from before, the guy who cut off the piece of film for her, the projectionist? Yeah, he doesn't have a name. His name is just projectionist. Well, as Pearl is making out with the scarecrow, when she finally opens her eyes again, she briefly sees his face. Her husband is on the back burner of her mind. She then yells at the scarecrow that she is married. She then gets properly freaky with the scarecrow. Like, I'm talking like freaky. You can just imagine what that means. Her mother is chopping wood with an axe when she gets home. Her mom is like, what took you so long? Also, remember the scarecrow's hat that she is now wearing? Her mom is like, where did you get that? Pearl says that she found it on the side of the road. Her mother is like, do not bring that inside. It could be covered in germs. Which, like, imagine if Pearl did actually find it on the side of the road. Like, I will never, ever borrow anyone's hat. Like, at school, I just copped the detention, and it did make me feel a little bit uncomfortable when people would wear my hat. Because, like, ew, headlights. Oh. See, Pearl's mom is thinking the exact same way as me. Pearl has a bathroom chat with her father about the picture that she saw, so the movie that she saw. She then pinches his finger and pokes his chin as he sits there. She asks him if he is still in there, and I'm really sorry. But my first thought when I saw this was, is she about to kiss him? She doesn't. Instead, she chokes him, like full hand, just around the neck. As they're eating dinner, Pearl's mom is like, where's the rest of the money I lent you? You see, Pearl spent that money to watch the pictures. But she tries to tell her mom, oh, there was no money left over. Her mom does not believe her. She lies and said that she got hard candy. So her mom takes away her soup and is like, well, then you've had enough. You ate the candy, that was your supper. So now Pearl is gonna go to bed hungry because she in fact did not eat any hard candy. She spent the money to watch the pictures. Pearl tries to get up to go to bed, but her mom is like, no, you sit down. Also, she can eat the soup in the morning. We also find out that part of the reason why they're so poor is because the people in Texas don't treat the German farmers very nicely because of everything with the war. She then tells Pearl that she cannot just wish her life away and avoid responsibility. Sounds like what I'm doing. Then Pearl is excused. She then prays to God and asks him if he can make her the biggest star the world has ever known so she can get away from the farm. As she goes to sleep, a shooting star shoots past her window. Now, the next morning she is milking cows when a vehicle approaches. It's Mitsy and her mom, Howard's sister and mother, and Mitsy is wearing a fox. Yo! I know I have to look at all this through context and everything, but still, just because I'm looking at things through a certain context does not mean I have to like fur things and fur animals. Like, now Mitsy and her mother bring a pig. There's the pig there for food, but Pearl's mother is like, no, we're not charity. I know a lot of people who are very prideful like this, and I mean, I get it to an extent because they're poor, they have no money, they've got nothing left. The only thing they have left is their pride. Anyways, moving on. Mitsy then says there is a dance audition on Saturday at the church for a Christmas chorus line. Apparently a troupe is going to be put together and will be touring 7 different cities. So Mitsy and Pearl are going to go to the audition together, but they can't tell anyone. Mitsy's mother does not approve of it, and of course Pearl's mother would also not approve of it. Pearl promises that she will never tell a soul. Pearl is very excited about this. We then get a glimpse of things underneath her bed. She has a few doll arms and a few doll legs, and she also has the hat from the Scarecrow before. She imagines herself on stage. She evades her mother, picks an outfit and sneaks out in the middle of the night. She rides her bike to the movie theaters, and also see this name here, theater, that's also the name of the crocodile that she fed Mr. Goose to at the beginning of the movie. She goes to see the projectionist and he lets her inside. They drink together, and remember when Pearl told Mitsy that she wasn't going to tell anyone about their dance audition? Well, she tells Mr. Projectionist. He gives her a little pep talk and is like, don't let anything stand in your way. Now, he means that as encouragement, but it can be taken the wrong way. He is then like, let's watch a film that nobody else has seen. What kind of movie do you think it is? It's porn. Pearl starts talking about how she doesn't like the reality that she lives in. The projectionist is like, we only get one life, you have to do things while you're young, otherwise you're gonna miss out. She basically says that her parents are holding her back and is like, if only they would just die. The projectionist is like, what? And she's like, oh, nothing. She's then like, I'm worried I'm not the same as other people. And the guy is like, why would you want to be like everyone else? She says it seems more peaceful being like everyone else. So this can mean a variety of things. She bike rides back home, and as she sneaks back in her window, she hears her mother crying. She lays down and looks at a picture of Howard, her husband, and is like, what are you looking at? The next day, she takes her dad outside, takes him to the lake pond thing, and starts calling out for her crocodile. You know, the crocodile that she fed Mr. Goose to. Her plan is to feed her father to Thea because even though she loves him, how he is currently living is apparently no way to live. And if she wants to leave, she can't feel like she's abandoning him. But just as she is about to push her father in the water so he can be eaten by the crocodile, her mother appears and is like, Pearl, what are you doing? Pearl finds a nest of eggs, presumably goose eggs, and she puts one in the barn. She gets mad at Charlie the cow for staring at her and then goes back to the egg and imagines Howard coming home from the war. As she imagines him coming home, the egg is in her hand and she squishes the egg so it cracks in her hands. Then it is a dark and stormy night. Remember at the start when Pearl went to that show, the one with all the dancers in it? Well, she took home the flyer and her mother has found the flyer. Her mother tells her to spend the night in the bunkhouse. Pearl is like, it's freezing out there, and her mom is like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have gone and put everyone at risk. Pearl then tells her mother about the dance audition. She's like, I'm going to that, and her mother is like, no, you're not. And she's like, yes, I am. Her mother is like, why? And Pearl is like, because I want to see if I'm good enough. And her mother is like, good enough for what? And she's like, good enough for a life better than this. And her mom is very upset about this and is like, why are you so ungrateful? Pearl is like, I'm young. I need to try to make more of my life. She says that if she goes to the audition and she doesn't get it, then she'll know that she's not good enough for that lifestyle. But she wants to at least try first so she doesn't regret it for the rest of her life. Her mother then is all cryptic and is like, I've seen what you do in private when no one else is watching. You can't keep your true self hidden forever. She says that everyone will notice eventually and they'll be frightened of her. Then her mother admits that even she is scared of Pearl. The mom then says that malevolence is festering in her. The mom then says that Pearl can't leave the farm again, and Pearl is like, you can't stop me, and she's like, oh yes I can. Her mother then snaps and yells at Pearl. Then she picks up a knife and hands it to Pearl and is like, take it, take it. Then she puts the blade of the knife against her husband's neck. She then slams the knife into the table. See, the thing about Pearl's mom is that Pearl's mom is a very selfless person. So to her, Pearl wanting to go and live her life and live her dreams, that is a very selfish thing for her to do. Her mom is then like, if you want to leave, go, and if you fail, which you will fail, just remember that feeling, because that is the feeling I get whenever I look at you. Her mom is like, everything has been taken from me, Pearl, what more do you want? And Pearl is like, I just don't want to end up like you. The mom slaps Pearl and then Pearl screams, I hate you to her. She slaps her back and then they both grab each other and start screaming at each other. Pearl is like, I'm gonna be a star, the whole world is gonna know my name. And as she is pushing her mom's dress gets caught in the fire. Her mom's dress catches on fire, which in turn means that she herself catches on fire. Pearl throws water on her to put out the fire, but her mom is in a bad way. She's not dead, but she's not in a good way. Pearl then drags her mom to the top of the basement stairs and drags her down them. Meanwhile, her dad is staring at everything in horror. Pearl runs to the projector guy. She kisses him in the doorway. Pearl imagines herself on stage again. Also, the reason why she keeps going to this projector man is because he believes in her dreams. And I think that's what Pearl really needs. Pearl just needs someone to believe in her. So she is looking for the person who believes in her, and that just happens to be projector guy. In this dream that Pearl has, her mother is in the audience and her mother doesn't have half of the bottom half of her face. She then wakes up and she is laying in bed next to projector man, so we can just all assume what happened. Pearl is panicked because she still has to practice for her routine, so she quickly gets up and gets changed. The projector guy gives her back her hat. They kiss again and he drives her home. As they are driving along, they see a soldier walking home, but Pearl is unsure about who it is, so we don't know if it's Howard or not. Pearl tells him to wait outside, goes inside, apologizes to her dad, takes the knife out of the table, wheels her dad away and feeds him medicine. Also, remember the pig that Mitsy and Mitsy's mom left? Well, it was put down on the front porch and it is still on the front porch and there is maggots crawling all over it. The projectionist notices it and just keeps looking at it. Then Pearl takes the projector man inside and shows him to her father. They go up to Pearl's room and they are just making out in there, but the projectionist guy can't focus because he keeps hearing thudding sounds. He goes and investigates and finds a piece of chewed up corn on the ground, so he picks it up and then Pearl appears and he's like, oh yeah, that's from my dog. She made a mess while I was away, so I put her in the root cellar. Also, side note, I thought that Pearl put her mother in the basement. It's not actually a basement, it's a root cellar. I apologize for my mistake. Pearl then takes him into the barn and shows him the animals. As she is showing him the animals in the barn, he's then like, okay, what about your dog? What's your dog's name? And she's like, oh, we don't have a dog. Completely forgetting that she told him that their dog was the one in the root cellar. He, of course, points this out to Pearl and she's just like, oh. No, that's literally how she reacts. Just, oh. She doesn't really know how to answer that, so he's just like, oh boy, look at the time, I gotta go. He's trying to stay calm, but it's very obvious that he's a little bit freaked out, a little bit weirded out about this entire situation. He kisses her and leaves, and Pearl is like, wait, did I do something wrong? They get into a little bit of a tussle. Pearl starts screaming at him, and he is just like, it's okay. He's scared. It's very obvious that he's scared, which I mean, like, I would be too. You would be too, don't even lie. He's like, I wish you the best luck for your audition, and then leaves. Remember the pitchfork from before? The pitchfork that she stabbed Mr. Goose with? Well, she takes the pitchfork and then stabs that into Projector Man as he's in his car and as he is about to drive away. She then screams that nothing is going to keep her here. Projector Man is now in a very bad way and his car starts rolling. Pearl then drags him out of his car and stabs the pitchfork through his mouth. Ow. Pearl then confronts her mother. Remember when Pearl's mom was like, I want you to remember what it feels like to fail because that's every single time I look at you? Well, then she repeats that back to her mother and then her mother is like flung across the root cellar's floor even further. Pearl then goes to tend to her father. She washes him with a sponge while he's there just looking at her and is very scared. She's like, I wish you didn't look at me like that. Then she gets her outfit for the audition. Pearl's dad is dressed up nicely and sitting in his wheelchair when Pearl comes in. She thanks him for everything, kisses him, then she suffocates him. Projector guy and his car are then shoved in the lake. Dita swims over to him. Now it is time for auditions. She is wearing this blood red dress and she has blue ribbons in her hair. She sits next to Mitsy and Mitsy says that there's a rumor that they're only going to be taking one girl from town. Pearl is like, this has to be me. Mitzi is very nice and is like, if it's not me, I hope it's you. And Pearl is like, oh, it has to be me. A girl named Dorothy comes out of the auditions crying. Originally, Mitzi is in front of Pearl, but then she's like, switch places with me, so Pearl does. Then it is Pearl's turn to audition. This audition scene is so insanely powerful. At first, everything is muffled and you can't hear what people are saying because it's just showing you that Pearl is in the zone. Pearl then dances for them. She's very upbeat and very cheery when she's dancing, if you'll see there. As you can see, Pearl has a very vivid imagination because that's what she's imagining behind her. It's a very powerful, upbeat dance scene. There's fireworks, there's applause, everything that is in Pearl's mind. But then she finishes the performance and a guy on the judging panel is like, thank you, but it's gonna be a no. Something that Pearl, of course, did not want to hear. The dude is basically like they're looking for someone who's younger and more blonder than her. Pearl is very upset about this and the usher then has to come and try to urge her off stage, but she's just like, no. Then on the judging panel, she hallucinates that she's seeing her mother. Her mother says no, it's not actually her mother, but it's who she's imagining as her mother. And this woman is all burnt and everything because her real mother was set on fire. Also on the judging panel, she sees Projector Guy and her husband, Howard, the soldier, as well as her dad. This is the evidence of that. Pearl then makes a scene and she screams at them and is like, please, I'm a star. She basically has to be dragged out. She then sits at the edge of the church and is just wailing. Mitzi then comes out to see her. She takes her home and by now the pig that was sitting on the front porch is horrendous. Like, it is so bad, I'm not even going to show you what the pig looks like. The maggots have eaten so much of it. Mitzi sees it and is like, oh, is that our pig? Pearl sits down at the kitchen table and she is very, very upset. Mitzi tries to make Pearl feel better about the entire situation. Mitzi is like to Pearl, just imagine I'm Howard, your husband, and say whatever you need to say. So pretending Mitzi is Howard, she's like, I hate you so much for leaving me here, I wish you would die. Which was something that Mitzi was obviously not expecting Pearl to say. But it gets better. She confesses about the projector guy and, you know, their shenanigans. Pearl then has a mini monologue in which she gets a lot of things off of her chest. It's here we find out that she was kind of using Howard as her ticket to get off the farm, but then Howard wanted to live on the farm. Pearl then says that she got pregnant and she loathed the feeling of something growing inside of her. Pearl had a miscarriage and she says that she was so relieved when this happened. She says that she just wants to be perfect. This is also a recurring theme. Pearl just wants to be perfect. She also has a very low self-esteem. She doesn't think she's pretty and she thinks she's a failure. She says that she's done bad things, terrible, awful, murderous things. She says that she regrets it now, but she liked how it felt. She says at first it was only animals that she killed, small animals. She then talks about how then she killed her mom and the guy from the picture house with the projector guy. She talks about her dad and says that she wishes she didn't do that for him because he didn't deserve it. Mitzi is in shock. She's like, oh, I better get going now. Pearl is like, are you scared of me? And Mitzi is like, of course not. She is scared. Pearl is then like, I'm happy that you got the part. And Mitzi is like, I didn't get the part, Pearl. And Pearl is like, you don't have to pretend anymore. My feelings aren't hurt. Now, we don't actually know whether or not Mitzi actually got the part. Yes, the judge panel said that they wanted someone blonde and young, a description that fits Mitzi, but also Mitzi was just incredibly nervous. Mitzi is like, Pearl, I didn't, and Pearl is like, please, don't lie to me. So Mitzi goes along with it and is like, well, yes, thank you, it's gonna be really swell. But we don't actually know if she got the part. Like, yes, she was blonde, she was kind of the only blonde one there, but at the same time, she told Pearl that she didn't get the part. And the only reason why she then said yes was because Pearl was like, don't lie to me, and Pearl was all twitching. It's up for interpretation. Do you think that Mitsy got the part, or do you think she didn't get the part? Me personally, I don't know. When I first watched this movie, I 100% thought that Mitsy got the part. But now that I'm just rewatching it now, I don't know. Like, she fits the description of what the guy wanted, but at the same time, she said that she didn't get it. But then, I don't know, is she just saying she didn't get it to not hurt Pearl's feelings? But then she says she did get it because she went along with what Pearl was saying. I don't know. If someone has any answers, please let me know. Anyway, then Pearl is like, you always get what you want. And Mitsy is like, I have to go now. Pearl is then like, obviously, no one can know about what I just told you. And Mitzi is like, yeah, okay. And Pearl is like, no one can know about this. This can just be our little secret. And Mitzi's like, yeah, of course. So Mitsy leaves, and then Pearl comes out after her. Remember the axe that Pearl's mom was using to chop wood? Well, then Pearl picks up the axe and starts chasing Mitsy with it. Like, let's be real, Pearl was never gonna let Mitsy go. On one hand, she told Mitsy that she is a murderer. And on the other hand, Pearl thinks that Mitsy got the part that she wanted. And remember when the projector guy was like, don't let anyone stand in your way, Pearl. Yeah, see, that's how that statement can get misconstrued. As Mitsy is running, she falls down and Pearl gains on her. Mitsy is screaming for help, but of course, no one can hear her. Pearl catches up to her and hits her in the back with the axe. Pearl then stands over her body and is like, it's about making the best with what I have. Because earlier before, that's what her mother told her when they got into their big fight and they were slapping each other and then she got set on fire. Mitsy is begging for her life, but Pearl is ruthless. Pearl kills Mitsy. She then goes to the cellar and walks down the stairs. She then snuggles up with her mother's body and imagines that her mother is singing her to sleep. The next scene is Pearl brushing her mother's hair, but like her mother is dead, so it's all falling off in clumps. It then cuts to a scene of Pearl like cutting off Mitsy's head and limbs, and it cuts to her then throwing Mitsy's head into Theda's mouth. Theda is the crocodile. She says goodbye to the animals and sets the table. She puts her dad's dead body at one end of the table and her mother's dead body at the other end of the table. Remember the pig that was outside and festering with maggots? Well, then Pearl puts that on the middle of the table. She imagines hugging her mom and her mom saying that she loves her. She then says grace, and this is what the table looks like. The scene cuts to black before then it's day and a vehicle is coming down the lane. It's Howard coming home from the war. He's very cheerful and he comes inside the house very excited for Pearl, excited to see her again. He walks into the dining room where, you know, her parents are, her dead parents, and the pig that has been eaten alive by, well, eaten dead by maggots. Let's just say he walked into a very disturbing scene. He is in shock. Pearl then appears and he's like, oh, I'm so happy you're home. She smiles at him and he's just like, and then the credits show and Pearl is just smiling, but she's like kind of grimacing now and her eyes are filling with tears. Okay, so that is the movie Pearl. Let me give you my little conclusion on this movie. I actually like it, and I feel like that is very rare for me to say, especially with new horror movies or new thriller movies or just basically new scary movies. I really love the setting, I love the music in the background, I love the color grading. I thought that the story was very, very interesting. So would I recommend that you watch this movie during this Halloween season? Yes, I would. I like to determine whether or not I actually liked a movie by the probability that I will watch it again. Will I watch this movie again? 100% yes. I really like this movie. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've seen it before. Let me know what you think about Mitsy, and do you think that Mitsy got the part or was she just saying it to Pearl? Alright, that is all I have for you today. Goodbye, Mouse Pack.